What's up, everyone? I am trying out my new camera here. We're going to see how this works. This video is going to be for those of you that are just getting into 4th gen F-bodies, Camaros and Firebirds. As much as I hate to say it because it dates myself, these are classic cars. They're 30 years old. I mean, my 95 is 31 years old. Crazy to even think about, you know. It's just weird when you can remember when they were brand new and you were like, wow, these are pretty cool. They're still cool. As a matter of fact, arguably, they've held on to that cool factor a little bit. The design of them just is it's something that is iconic, we'll say, with the unibody chassis and all that stuff. But anyway, this is a video. There's a lot of new car people out there getting into these cars. And, you know, being 30 years old and older, they need work these days. There's nothing you can, no way around that. You know, everything on this 95 is 30 years old, you know, bushings and, matter of fact, I was looking at my front wheel bearings. I can barely spin the wheels freehand. So those are shot, you know, just age. So what I'm going to do here is kind of go over, I'm doing some basic maintenance to get ready for spring. I haven't driven this car very much, but we are going to just kind of go over some of the stuff that I'm doing tonight. One thing I'm doing is I'm doing a coolant flush. It hasn't been done for a few years. These came with Dex Cool originally, which is that orange coolant that is well known to harden and clog passages and all that. Over probably 15 years ago, I switched it out with standard high mileage coolant, the any make, any model stuff. The reason why is because it doesn't plug up passages. And I have something I'll show you here in a minute. So I'm doing a coolant flush, but the reason I have the battery out is I'm actually switching out the coolant level sensor. If you get that light on your dash and your coolant level is fine, this is the sensor right here. So basically, it is right here. So this is the sensor here. I'll throw up some pictures, but in there, it's still got the old Dex Cool in there, and it's got gunk and everything built up in there it's like a rock in there. But that's the sensor, and it's really common for them to go bad. Mine made it until last year, 2 years ago. I think I put 2,000 miles on this thing in the last 2 years. So I changed that, doing a coolant flush. In that coolant flush, I'm also running some of this Restore Plus cooling system cleaner. It's supposed to get rid of scale. It's for fleet vehicles. It's actually Fleet Guard is the brand. So it's for like semi trucks and things like that. So I'm going to throw that in and you fill it with water and then you let it run 60 to 90 minutes, I think is what they said, to let it flush and do its job. And then you flush it out with straight water, drain the water, run it again, drain the water out, and then put your coolant in. The other thing I'm doing is an oil change. I run AMSOIL in every vehicle I own. I'm actually still in the process, but I'm working on being an AMSOIL dealer. I'm signed up and everything. I just have to take some classes and stuff like that. So I'll get a storefront going and stuff like that here in the future. A couple other things I'm going to be doing is transmission fluid service, things like that. As far as the car goes, it has a few mods on it. This used to be a can. It's kind of funny because Trick Flow or K&N, one of the two bought the other one out. So this says Trick Flow Specialties, but it's actually a K&N part. This is a cold air intake, and it actually puts your air filter down in your wheel well. It's one of the only ways to get performance out of the intake system in these cars. If you look at the factory one right here, I still have it in my garage. It's bottlenecked down to nothing because your ABS module is so close to the radiator and you don't have any hood clearance. So they did what they could. It still is recessed in there quite a bit. So I have that. I just put the strut tower brace on just for grins and giggles, just because they're cheaper these days than they used to be. Pace setter long tube headers. They go back to a Hooker aero chamber catback exhaust. They used to call them airfoils. I have the little airfoil that goes in the front here. people say, you know, it makes a difference. It doesn't make a difference, whatever. It was like $30 back in the day, so I picked one up. Another thing I did is there are coolant lines that run through these throttle bodies. Back in the day, they dyno tested these with and without the coolant lines, and without the coolant lines in here, you actually gained about 5 horsepower. The reason why is you're not pumping that hot water through the intake. Now, that said, if you drive your car in cold weather, do not do the bypass. The reason it's there is to keep the throttle blades from getting frozen when that cold air comes into the intake system while you're driving in cold weather. I don't drive this. I only drive it in the summer. So I did that because I never worry about being in below 0 temperatures. What else? Replica ZR1 wheels on here in like a gunmetal color. I really don't like the color match. My wife says she likes it. This is actually her car. I'm not a fan of it, so I'm not overly thrilled with the way they look. She likes them though. One thing I will say is I got a square setup for those so that I'm sure it doesn't. Oh, I took the battery out. So that, hold on a minute here, I'm gonna get in here so that I can rotate the tires. When I did that, the offset for the front is too high for the rear or something, whatever it is. So I actually had to put full 1-inch spacers back here to clear the brakes and everything. Plus it made it sit a little bit more flush and looks a little bit better. Don't mind how dirty it is. In my other videos I mentioned we live on a dirt road, and so keeping our vehicles clean is a struggle. Oh, these replaced. Okay. All right, so I'm gonna do this two-handed. Okay. Another thing I've done, and people that are buying these cars are doing, is putting stereos in them. If the car didn't already have an aftermarket stereo in it, a lot of people want to know what you can do for stereo systems in these cars. So on, is it gonna stay? This side, this is your spare tire and everything like that. Not all of these will have this. You have it if you have the Bose system. Matter of fact, I have the speakers. If someone wants them, I'll sell you to them. Sell them to you. So this will have a speaker here. So there's a couple options. You can tell I put a subwoofer in here. This is a 10-inch JL Audio. The amplifier is actually behind here. And so I ran everything all the way back here, and then I replaced all the speakers. And I'll get into that in a minute. But anyway, a lot of what you'll see for the sub boxes is they sell the passenger side. In order to put those in, you have to take your spare tire and stuff out. I didn't want to do that. It took some digging, and I can find it too if anybody needs it. But there is still a company that makes the driver's side box, which I thought was funny that so many of them are passenger side when this hole is already here. It's just an empty space. So I thought that was kind of weird. And so I put this sub in here with the amp behind here. It's a 5-channel amplifier by Soundstream. It's okay. You know, it does the job. It's not great in my opinion. But I wanted 5 channels so I didn't have to run 2 amps, you know, one for the speakers, the 4-channel for the speakers, and the one for the sub. I wanted to be able to run just 1 amp for all the speakers. And that Soundstream was, price-wise, size-wise, that's the big thing. It's a small amplifier. It's their, solid state or monoblock. I can't remember what they call them. Anyway, it's been a while since I really messed with stereo stuff. So we went ahead and put that in. If you have a Bose system and you want to replace the speakers, you have to, or let me backtrack. If you have the Bose system, which a lot of these cars did, you can replace the head unit and retain the Bose system. If you put in an amplifier, you have to replace the speakers. Each speaker in these cars has its own amplifier because that's how Bose did it. So if you try to put in a system and keep the stock speakers, it's not going to work. So you have to take out the stock speakers, put in aftermarket speakers, which most people do anyway. But back in the day, a lot of people just wanted an amplifier to boost the stock speakers without having to replace them. You couldn't do that. I think the 4 speakers in the front are Infinity. I want to say Kappa. I can't remember. I think they're Infinity speakers with a Pioneer head unit. It's a single DIN unit. You can put a dual DIN in there. But on the pre-97s, it's hard to do because of the way that the front or the dash is on these cars. So if you look, This is really small, and some people you have to cut things and stuff like that to get a double din in. I'm not about to do that. So we went with the single din Pioneer. Like I said, it sounds all right. I mean, it's better than the factory system. It's not gonna win any competitions or anything like that, which I don't really care, I guess. Most of the time when we're driving it, we have the tops off and we're cruising with the windows down anyway. And I like to hear the car more than the stereo. So if you guys have any questions on these cars, there's a lot of people out there that know a lot of things about these F-bodies. There's some really good reference sites out there, websites, things like that for reference. But I can help answer questions. I've done a lot to this. Oh, another question I get, because they suck, are the headlights. The headlights in these cars suck. These are the same lenses as like the old school Grand Ams, or Grand Prix, the 91, 92 Grand Prix, things like that. So what you can do, and let me get a light in here. I don't know if that's gonna be too much light. But anyway, if you look in there, you see that silver? Those are LED bulbs. What you can do is, the majority of these newer lenses, these are glass, and I replaced these years ago. The majority of these lenses are just a 900, this is a 9005 and this is a 9006 bulb, are those bulbs with a little collar that they epoxy on there. So if you cut that collar off or break that collar off without breaking your lens, you can pull that bulb out. And then what I do is I just get some high temp silicone, RTV, and I put RTV in there, stick the bulb in, and then I take electrical tape and I wrap it around a few times and leave it for a couple of days. And then that will glue in there and it seals it. And I have this is the second, I used to use just like Sylvania Silver Stars, but this last time I went to the LEDs. And so I've never had an issue with them coming out or leaking or anything like that. When you do an LED bulb, it has, oh, wait a second. LED bulbs have orientation to them. You can't just put in an LED bulb. I've got some here for my kids' rally art here. So you can't just put in an LED bulb. You have to orient them correctly so that the beam is correct. So like here's an LED bulb here. This is an H7 for my kids' projector beams. So you look at this, it's got like a blade on it. There's your LEDs right there. They're Cobb LEDs, I believe. You can, when you put them in the bulb, they need to be vertical like this. If you go horizontal, your beam pattern is going to go north and south or up and down instead of east and west. This direction blinds people really, really bad. And you can't see because the beam pattern is incorrect. You have to go vertical like this so that the beam pattern goes left and right and you're not blinding people as you're driving down the road. So with those, if you have any questions on those, hit me up. I can definitely answer those questions, things like that. That's about it, really. So if anyone has any questions, hit me up and I'll help out wherever I can.